Here we have someone designing a sweater using an argyle pattern. All four sides of the quadrilateral A, B, C, D are 2 inches long. How can she be sure that the 2 inch by 2 inch argyle pattern is a square? A square has all the properties of a parallelogram, a rhombus, and a rectangle. Because remember, right, when we have our parallelogram, it splits off into specifically a rhombus or a rectangle. But then if you take properties from both the rhombus and the rectangle, they come together and they create the square. To prove the quadrilateral ABCD is a square, prove that it is a parallelogram, a rhombus, and a rectangle. So you want to prove each step going down so that you can show that it is specific enough to be a square. So we're going to start by proving that it is a parallelogram first. So here's our shape, ABCD. Because both pairs of opposite sides are congruent, we know it's a parallelogram, right? Each of these sides is 2 inches, so opposite sides are congruent, therefore it is a parallelogram. Okay, so step 1, check. It's a parallelogram. Now we want to prove that it is a rhombus. Because consecutive sides are congruent, we know it's a rhombus, right? The sides next to each other are congruent, so it has to be a rhombus. Step 2, check. Step 3 is to prove that it is a rectangle. If the diagonals of the parallelogram are congruent, then the parallelogram is a rectangle. So if she measures the lengths of each diagonal and finds they are equal, then we know that it is also a square. Could she show that the pattern is a square a different way? Write down your opinion in your notes and have it ready to go for later. And your study tip for this video, although it would be difficult to measure a perfect square on a piece of fabric due to its stretching and shrinking qualities, we assume that the properties of the square will hold true. For example, the congruence of its diagonals. So that is an assumption that has to be made in this problem, even though we know that material isn't rigid like a piece of cardboard or a piece of wood.